The bus doors hissed open, and the cold wind cut through her thin sweater as she stepped down, clutching her baby tighter against her chest. The sky was gray, heavy, like it knew something she didn't. She turned back, expecting him to follow, just a second behind, like always, but he didn't. He was still sitting inside, his face pale, his eyes avoiding hers. "I'll be right back," he had said, voice shaking in a way she didn't understand at the time. The doors slammed shut before she could ask anything more. She watched the bus pull away, slow at first, then faster, until it disappeared into the blur of traffic, and just like that, he was gone. No bag, no money, no explanation, just a promise that dissolved into silence. Her baby began to cry, small fists trembling against her chest, and that's when it hit her. He wasn't coming back. Not in 5 minutes, not ever. Her knees weakened, and she sank onto the cold bench of that empty bus stop, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "Please, don't do this to me." But the wind carried her words away like they meant nothing. If this story is already breaking something inside you, make sure you subscribe, because stories like this don't just entertain, they remind us how strong a human heart can be when everything else falls apart. That night was the longest night of her life. No phone calls, no messages. His number went dead before midnight. She stayed at that bus stop for hours, rocking her baby, hoping, no, begging for him to come back. Every pair of headlights made her heart jump. Every passing shadow felt like him. But morning came, and with it, the truth she didn't want to accept. He had left her, not just her, but their child too. The years that followed were not kind. She learned quickly that the world doesn't slow down for broken people. Rent didn't care that she cried herself to sleep. Bills didn't wait for her to heal. She worked anywhere that would take her, cleaning houses, washing dishes, standing on her feet for hours while her back screamed in pain. Sometimes she skipped meals so her child could eat. Sometimes she smiled through tears so her child wouldn't feel the weight of their reality. And every night, when her baby finally slept, she would sit by the window and wonder, why? 7 years passed like that. 7 years of struggle. 7 years of unanswered questions. Her baby grew into a bright, curious child who laughed easily and loved deeply. The kind of child who would ask, "Mom, where's Dad?" And she would pause, swallow the lump in her throat, and say, "He's far away." She never spoke badly about him, not once, even when she had every right to. One evening, after a long shift, she stood outside a small grocery store counting coins in her hand. Her child stood beside her, holding her sleeve, humming softly. That's when she noticed a man across the street. He was frozen, completely still, like time had stopped just for him. His eyes were locked on her. No, not just her, on them. At first she didn't recognize him. Time had changed both of them, but there was something about the way he looked, like he had seen a ghost. Then it hit her. Her breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the coins until they dug into her skin. It was him. 7 years later, the man who had left her at that bus stop, the man who disappeared without a trace. He looked different, cleaner, better dressed, like life had been easier for him. But his eyes told a different story. They were filled with shock, regret, and something deeper, fear. He took a step forward, then stopped, like he didn't deserve to come closer, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to exist in her world anymore. Her child looked up at her. "Mom, who is that?" Her heart pounded so loud she thought it might shatter her ribs. For a moment she couldn't speak. Years of pain, anger, confusion, all crashing into this single moment. She had imagined this 1,000 times. What she would say, what she would do, whether she would scream or walk away. But reality felt heavier than imagination. He finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. She let out a bitter laugh, one that didn't reach her eyes. You made sure of that, didn't you? He flinched. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Then his eyes moved to the child standing beside her. His child, the one he had abandoned, without even looking back. His lips trembled. Is that? She didn't let him finish. Yes, this is the baby you left at a bus stop, like we were nothing. The words hit him like a slap. He staggered slightly, his face draining of color. I didn't know how to come back. She stepped closer now, her voice shaking, not with weakness, but with years of buried strength. You didn't know how? You didn't know how to pick up a phone? To send a message? To check if your child was alive? Tears filled his eyes, but she didn't stop. Do you know how many nights I sat awake wondering if you were dead? Do you know how many times I blamed myself? Her voice cracked now, emotion spilling through despite her control. I thought maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I did something wrong. You didn't, he said quickly, desperation in his tone. It was me. I was scared. I had nothing. I felt like I was drowning, and I thought, if I stayed, I'd drag you both down with me. She shook her head slowly. So you chose to drown us anyway, just without you. Her child looked between them, confused. Mom, why are you crying? She wiped her tears quickly, kneeling down. It's okay, baby. Everything's okay. But it wasn't. Not really. The man took another step forward, his voice breaking. I've thought about you every day. Not a single day passed where I didn't regret what I did. Regret doesn't raise a child, she replied sharply. I know, he whispered, and I can't change the past. But can I at least try to be part of your lives now? That question hung in the air like a storm about to break. 7 years of absence against 1 moment of return. She looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who had once been her whole world. This stranger who had caused her deepest pain. Then she looked at her child, and for the first time, she didn't think about herself. She thought about what her child deserved. Not promises, not apologies, but truth. She stood up slowly, her voice calm now, but firm. You don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. If you want to be part of this child's life, you're going to have to earn it. Slowly, honestly, no disappearing, no excuses. He nodded immediately, tears falling freely now. Anything, I'll do anything. She held his gaze for a long moment, then said quietly, we'll see. And as she took her child's hand and walked away, she didn't look back, because this time she wasn't the one being left behind.